Half an hour?
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order at 6:30. Hello, everyone. Hello, guests. Any additions or changes to the agenda?
I don't have any.
I'll take a motion to approve the May 12th minutes.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Any need for changes? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the May 12th minutes signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay. Signing is commencing. And we'll move right into road update. Hello, Mike.
Finished ditching on Teacher Road in that place, got that seeded, and then just finished ditching on Stevens Road today. Met with
Just a
Doug
question
Moore.
on that. Is there's still are you gonna, there's a little stretch that isn't ditched. Are you gonna leave that?
Yeah, the ditch is fine, I was just pulling the shoulder.
Okay.
I know it looks a little messed up there, but yeah, it's the water. Been grading what we can and pouring as much as we can. We got our part of our pipe delivery for the Shed Lake project, and I met with Doug Morton for the grant study program Wednesday, and we're all set to start that project. Pipes coming around the shoulders on Shed Lake Railway.
The big pipe.
The big bike's not gonna be here till maybe next week. But as far as what we're doing, we have all the pipe for that.
So when are you planning on trying to do that? The crosscuts on Shadow Lake Road?
Where are we planning on?
When are you planning?
So I marked it out the other day, I gotta remark it, but I'm probably gonna cut them sometime next week. That way, the following Monday, I talked to Cindy and, as far as closing the road down,
Mhm.
or I'll talk to you as well. Like it to be closed down for the week. And then I was planning on cutting them the Thursday or Friday before that way they're all cut and just go start waiting.
Okay. So this would be closed during the day though, right? It'd be
Yes,
open, it'd just be like a,
Yeah. I don't know what works best, 7:30 to 4 or 5 or 8 to 4 or 5. You tell me.
I don't know what the bus schedule is.
Bus doesn't.
Doesn't go through. Okay.
I don't believe so, right?
That is correct. No kids get on the bus from basically Hinman Road down to 16. So,
So it doesn't go down that road at all?
no,
Okay, perfect. So then,
I was thinking 7 to 4.
yeah,
Close it down. And if we get the road open before that, we'll put the signs for the day. And then I was talking to you earlier about the gravel pit, as far as putting rocks or some kind of barrier up so people quit going in there and the cable. So we're not in there, going there. And just,
once you let these guys know what's going on, so they'll have
as
to,
far as what happened the other day.
or just in general, we get people going in
So,
there.
yeah, I mean, there's people always that have the gravel pit at the ball field. And I mean, one, it's a huge liability, two, they're always just tearing it up. So I'd like to put a bunch of rocks coming down to the ball field across from there, so no one can go across there, and then our actual road going past the ball field parking entrance. Put a gate or a wire up.
Yeah.
That way no one can go in there, and then put signs up. as well.
So it's becoming a party haven?
Not really, it's just
They're just-
people in there up to no good, and I
Just
mean, if people
cutting
go
donuts?
up and go over that bank, and someone could die.
We also had people, well, the other day, you let me know there's somebody going in taking gravel. You know, it's like, I don't want to get into a,
Yeah, I guess we're gonna have to.
It's just-
close that
I
off.
just-
I mean, that's,
Yeah, and the instance today, that was actually at the garage, there where we keep our sand. Someone's in there, so I want to put some signs up there. I don't really want to put a gate up there because it's a huge inconvenience to us, especially in winter, but I guess in the summer months, we could keep it up for the most part. people go down there in the winter to get sand, which I don't like either, as far as sand coming down on someone else's shovel. But if we put signs up, then we're covered.
Yeah. So you're gonna use boulders and what else?
So as far as where we, where our road is, put a concrete block on each side and put a cable over the wall. And then flag it so people can see it. And then another thing, as far as plowing for next year, we got this new truck and it's a little taller. I was wondering, the little stoop out here under the store,
Mhm.
or above the store, I was wondering if we could raise that by chance?
Yeah, we got, that's a good point. We need to do something with that.
And if we go by there, close to the building with our side up body up, we can get it.
Seems like there's something we could do there that side of the building needs some work anyway, before next winter. So, yeah,
I'm missing something.
the little, the porch
Yeah,
over here with the new truck that we got, it's higher up. And it
so for plowing, it doesn't make it, okay.
doesn't work well. It's too much, it's a little too
To
close.
get the road plowed all the way, we're gonna.
Yeah,
So,
so what's the answer? Raising it up?
either get it up or, I don't know. We'd have to look into some options, but.
How much farther up do you need it? I'd say, a foot and a half. I'd say, I'd have to look at it, put a truck next to it.
Yeah.
At
But
some
it's-
point, we talked about a comprehensive improvement plan for
Right.
this building. And that would certainly be part of that.
Yeah, I mean, there's clapboards down there that really need to be replaced this summer and stuff, so, I mean, that could all be.
I don't think you want to buy any clapboards.
There's a couple places that, if we don't, we're gonna have neighbors moving in.
And then I have a letter of intent for next year's grants and aid program. For someone to sign, if you guys want to sign it. It would go a long way to show like.
So that's gonna be 20 grand next year compared
Up
to,
to 20 grand. Right, we got, I think it was just over 10 this year.
so that's pretty nice. Well,
Well, I found paper.
I've heard so many numbers in the past few days.
26th.
yes,
And,
So is someone else gonna fill this in, Mike?
Yeah, I can fill it in or, I'll absolutely send it in.
Okay.
Someone want a copy to begin with?
I have a comment.
sure.
Would it be better to close the Shadow Lake Road from 8 to 5, because people, if they're working, close at 7, they might have, they'll be able to get out there and back. After 5, I don't know how many people work down that road. Comment. Flip a coin.
I think that the road is busier in the afternoon than it is in the morning, from my experience, but.
It is a throughway, a thoroughfare road from, so it doesn't, yeah, it's normal to be busy
Either
at
time.
any time.
Okay.
I mean, and there's enough options for, if people know ahead of time that it's closed, there's enough options to get around it.
Yeah, so I talked to Cindy and she mentioned putting up signs warning people
Yeah,
on that road, which I'll probably do that either tomorrow or not.
Yeah, we had a little flack in the past where we weren't alerting people to road closures. It'd be good to get that.
Well, why don't we put it on Facebook and Front Porch Forum?
We
ahead of
did
time?
do that.
Okay, well, why don't we do it again?
yeah,
Yeah, I think
We will, but it was a
And
signage that people.
then put a sign up on the actual road itself.
yeah.
There's a draft of a letter in there that can go to the Chronicle. It's a start that we can
Public
send to
notice,
the
yeah.
Chronicle. And we can also put it on the website.
That's-
Mhm.
Yeah,
Just need the appropriate wordage.
So you think if it's closed for a week, you'll get all the culverts
Yeah,
in,
get all the cross culverts.
and then after that, you won't have to close it?
After that, I can keep on my own.
Okay,
so this public notice is Shadow Lake will be closed through traffic beginning June 6th through June 10th. The road crew will be doing culvert work around Shadow Lake.
We're gonna want to add that the road's gonna be closed from 7 to 4?
Yeah.
7, okay,
Unless you guys want to change that.
or some kind of time frame.
Well, from 7 to 4.
Is it a huge inconvenience to you if you wait till 8?
On paper.
I know, yeah,
No, I
I mean,
mean.
it's
it is- it is
usually at
it's
7 to
fine.
3:30,
Yeah,
so, I
we
mean,
start at 6, so I mean, you know, that's the 2 hours that, I mean, there is some stuff we can prep to start that, but I don't know if there's 2 hours with it. But, I mean, it's up to you guys, if you want me to wait till 8, then wait till 8.
I don't use that road anymore. I used to use that road, and when I did use it, I was traveling on it exactly when it would be closed, if I was still traveling on it. But I don't anymore.
It has been closed before.
And I
And I
mean,
think the point was if people knew that it was gonna be closed, they could take a detour.
right. I mean, I really would rather not see these guys trying to find something to do for another hour in the morning unless we think it's really
I mean, so what I can do is I can start digging in the morning, and wait till 8 to, you know, close the road. I can get one side of the road dug out and keep the one lane open until 8 o'clock, and then I can close it.
So we wanna go with 8 to 4?
Yeah.
So, okay, so I guess we'll use that verbiage.
We'll get that in the Chronicle and get that to Jethro to put on the website. And who's in charge of Facebook and Front Porch Forum?
If you, so, yeah, I'll post that on both of those.
Do we have signage that you could say like the Friday before? Like Friday afternoon before you go home, and that you could just, it'll say that road closed.
So that's what I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna put it up there, you know. Piece of paper
You know,
isn't
right.
gonna be big enough, so I'm not sure. That, or I could write on the back of a bigger sign, I guess. The Sharpie.
How much does it cost to get one of those things that you drive in and has lights, like they use on the interstate?
More money than we get on.
Yeah. I mean, that is,
I didn't know how much you can rent it for.
Too much. For what, you know, for.
I don't know, I wonder if C-Card's got one that he's not using. I don't, I mean, it'd just be nice if
I
like,
guess,
you know what I'm
I'll
saying?
call tomorrow and see how much it is.
Okay. But if, like, you know, if we put it up Friday, so people had the weekend to realize, you know, this road's gonna be closed Monday morning.
So if that message board is an option, would you put that down, right on 16, as you get on the show?
Yeah. I think
I'll call tomorrow and see how much it is. and get one.
if they're a huge amount of money, then we'll come up with something else, but we can take a peek.
Okay, anything else, Mike?
I believe that's it on that one.
Orleans County Sheriff's Report, that was for April. I thought we already did that last meeting.
The last meeting you did February's because we didn't receive it in a timely fashion.
So I don't,
And
am I missing it here?
then you saw March's before that, because that one we did receive it in timely fashion.
I don't see it here, and
Try under,
you know what I
Too
could
far.
do is I could even pull up the website as well. If you want to look at it, but
okay, under this one.
oh, here it is. Okay. Nothing too extraordinary. We'll review that. Okay. Trails Committee, the newly formed Trails Committee update. Noel, are you here
I
for that?
attached a copy of the minutes.
Yeah,
No, but where is your mother, man?
At home, probably.
I know you're not her keeper.
I mean, she is in her kitchen right now.
I put that on the agenda just so that,
Is
Just-
she supposed to be
Okay,
here?
so it doesn't, so this is their allotted meeting time then?
I give you a brief update. The good news is Peggy is the chair.
Yeah,
Michelle down in Yon is the, what we call technology coordinator, whatever, trying to keep everything up to date on our website, which is going to be connected to your website. Cindy is the secretary, treasurer, and the assistant chair, and a wonderful animal control person.
is it the assistant what? Back that one right up.
So nobody wanted to be a vice chair?
We're gonna try to do a different model to get younger people involved.
Well, what are you gonna do if Peggy's not there?
Pardon me?
What are you gonna do in case of a meeting if Peggy's not there?
It goes to, it would go to Cindy. No, it would go to the secretary or the treasurer or whatever. It'll be spelled out. We just haven't gotten that far at this point. It'll all be done legal, relax, you don't have.
I'm just asking.
no, it
Why
just makes
you
it
got
easier because not everyone can make meetings. It's good to have the
a
person.
vice chair.
Yeah, and we'll take care of it. It was a good meeting. We had about 20 people there, 19 or 20. Free exchange of ideas. There's a lot to do. We're trying to start small. We're trying to emphasize, keeping people aware of what's going on, what's available, grants, whatever, what we're doing. And we're hoping to get the focus more on our website, your website in the future.
So I see that it says that Peggy will approach the select board to use some of the funds in the GREC bank account. So this is going to be a subcommittee of GREC then? That's the idea?
Well, no, that's not the idea. I think we're gonna try to involve certainly what the rec committee and Jethro see as the future. But no, that's not been the vision from day one.
So if that's not gonna happen, that you won't be a subcommittee, is there gonna be a way to extract those
I
funds?
don't know. That was why my suggestion was they be the GREC committee and just do a subcommittee of the trail, so that money would be available. I don't know if we'll have to look into that. I know in a reserve fund, you can't take money that's destined for a certain thing, and the money that's in the GREC account is for GREC.
It's about $12,000, right?
Right, but it's not for the Trails Commission. I don't know legally, remember when I talked to you guys and Peggy about it would be a good idea to reinvent the GREC committee, and then you guys could be part of that could be the Trails Committee, like a subcommittee out of that, and that would have given you, and Peggy's like, oh, that makes sense. And so I'm not sure, I mean, she can approach it, we'll have to look into it, but I'm not sure we can take money that was earmarked for GREC and give it to another committee.
So what happens if GREC never?
Well, I mean,
happens again?
there's some of that money is gonna get spent, because there's gonna be there needs to be a fence put up there.
Okay,
I mean, so eventually there just would have been a lot easier if it was the other way too.
Where would you get a legal opinion on that?
VLCT, probably.
Will you do that and then get back to Peggy or yours truly?
Yeah, somebody can look into that, absolutely, yeah. Yes,
Okay, good.
All right, anything else, Noel?
No.
Okay. T-Mobile AT&T petition. A lot of paper. I believe it has to do with the sale of T-Mobile to AT&T.
That
Am I
paper,
correct on
that
that?
paper from Downs, Rackland and Martin,
Yeah,
Jessica was saying
Regarding-
those go together.
Is it a sale or are they just,
oh, they're gonna take it by the,
are they buying space on the tower? I thought they were buying space on the tower.
yes, that looks like that's what it is. So, this is a review item,
Or an FYI.
yeah. No action required, but it looks like there's gonna be some transaction between AT&T and T-Mobile regarding space on the tower.
Which tower is this?
On Dexter?
Dexter,
Okay.
land owned by Douglas and Judith Conley and Luke and Daniel Conley.
So I think that was just for us to know that what's going on, because we just, the tower's there and it's been.
Yeah.
That's what all these guys do, I think, is they buy space on everybody else's. Get one tower up and away you go.
Okay. Well, I didn't put this on the agenda, pox on me. I did want to add that with regarding the planning commission, part of Glover's deed issue where we're trying to get the town to deed to the green. There's been a little bit of confusion. I'm going to be meeting with Sarah Davies Coe next week, and she's going to give me a step-by-step procedure to be able to communicate to the planning commission and to the board and to how to parlay the work of the surveyor and the work of the attorney. I feel like I've been between a surveyor and an attorney, and I'm neither of one of those. So I'm going to start with Sarah helping me understand, and I'll convey that to the board.
Okay.
Shadow Lake Dam analysis update. Yesterday, I met with Ben Green from the Department of Natural Resources. He and the 3 other colleagues. He had received some questions and concerns from the Lake Association, Shadow Lake, and he really wanted to talk and do a tour of the dam just to see what some of the specifics, what some of the specifications are. He did some measurements. He told me that for the dam analysis work that's going to be done, it's been awarded to, guess who? Du Bois and King. And so they're going to be doing the detailed assessment and analysis. And sometime in June, there's going to be an open house that Glover is going to be invited to down in Montpelier to kind of review how the process goes. So I'll probably plan on attending if it meets my schedule, but anyone is all, any of you can come. So it was, and just to also say that it was nice to see that the water levels have decreased significantly. And as I mentioned to Jen, that was sort of expected. And so, and we got further confirmation that we don't want to keep raising and lowering boards on a frequent basis from Ben.
This is from yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to years ago where the state would prefer water levels to be naturally naturally placed, and that, our removing and lowering the board twice a year seemed to be pretty stable. But who knows with this dam analysis, if it means the dam is in a higher category of need, it would mean monies to rehab it. If it's not, I don't know, we'll have to see what happens with that.
But it was his thoughts that we should just leave it. We're not to try to.
Yeah, he
regulate
didn't,
it.
there wasn't any indication that we needed to do anything more than we're doing right now.
Mhm.
Their focus is on downstream.
Yeah.
And the safety of water levels of the dam and increasing water levels and how that will affect downstream. I went to the dam last week and there was a little bit of overflow on the auxiliary, just a little trickle. Which, you know, it's pretty high.
Mhm.
So, but I asked Ben, given the fact that climate change and global warming seems to be providing more intense rain, you know, is there anything that we should be doing differently? And I said, I would hope that he could give us some guidance on that. So
Did he have any suggestions, or is this gonna?
he
come
said he would
through?
look into it, that, you know, and I said, yeah, he said he would look into that, and I'm hoping if I don't hear from him in a couple of weeks, I can give him a call.
Mhm. No, good. Thanks for doing that. You know, there's been so many people around the lake suggesting that we do that, and maybe now that, especially with Jen there, maybe they'll share the information with the rest of the Shadow Lake Association that
Yeah,
that's just not the way it needs to go. So,
I was trying to remember when he came in, I guess it must have been around last summer. I think he mentioned the environmental impacts of messing it and that they were not good, that,
Yeah.
right, he had data about fish and fish
Mhm.
eggs. Am I
No,
misremembering
you're
that?
not. Yeah,
Okay.
that's entirely right. You've got certain trout that spawn in the spring, certain trout that spawn in the fall, and if lake trout, I believe, so lake trout spawn in the fall. You
Yeah,
and if you drop the lake down 2 or 3 feet, their eggs are gonna be all gone.
so we
And-
can't really be messing with the natural environment
No.
to like save some,
And, you know, I got a number of emails about erosion, and
yeah,
it- if you draw the lake down 2 or 3 feet and you leave that dirt there, first time it rains, it's like building a bank and never put any grass or grass seed or anything mulch on it and just watch it pour rain. It's all gonna go.
okay.
So what we really need is for the Shadow Lake Association to improve their communication skills, you know, so we avoid some of these.
Well, do we have, I guess that was before we were recording, but do we have the reports about the natural environment that we can pass along?
They've got them all.
They have
They
them
do.
all, okay.
a lot of information.
They spend way more time with ANR and DEC than we do.
So are they misunderstanding that, or do they just not
They're just not getting the answer that they want to
prioritizing
hear.
that? Okay,
Is kind of my thought. If you keep asking, maybe it'll change, but it doesn't seem to. So,
okay.
Okay, we good with that?
Yep.
Town administrator update. So I have a letter to read to the board. Dear David and Leanne, as was anticipated at our last select board meeting, there have been no responses to the job ads posted on Front Porch Forum and the Glover Facebook page. Given that we agreed the select board is in need of an administrative support if it is to adequately serve the growing needs and expectations of the town, it is with mixed but resolute feelings that I submit to you my resignation as select board member in order to pursue the role of Glover Town Administrator. I sincerely believe that I can meet the expectations of this job and can provide critical support to the board regarding matters of community relations, grants management, internal communications, and committee coordination. My last day as select board member will be June 10th, 2022. I hope you feel confident in my application for the position and look forward to discussing this opportunity further. It has been a rewarding pleasure serving beside both of you on the board. I will miss being part of sharing in the governance of our fair town, but look forward to being in a role where I can support the important governance. Sincerely.
Wow. I didn't
So,
know that was happening tonight,
No,
you know.
well, yeah.
I'm sorry, is this something you're feeling sure about?
yep. The only hesitation is a replacement. And so I've had conversations with some possible people that might be willing to be appointed. I don't know if you have any. I think that, you know,
I have.
now it's in your hands. I just want to be able to at least, you know, not leave the board with just 2 members.
I think that part, you know, we can take care of. I just want to make sure that you are really feeling that this is the right move and not feeling like you have to do this.
No, I think there's been mounting evidence that having 3 basic volunteers doing this and not having a critical point person creates more work than, it's not very efficient.
Well, I think you're certainly gonna be, I don't think anyone could do a better job at the work that you'll be doing.
Well, let's not stretch it that far.
No, it's,
No, it's,
I really look forward to just kind of mixing it up and getting into the details. And, you know, I'm getting a little burned out on the macro thing, and I want to be able to make things move and help with how our little organization functions. And I think it's, most people I talk to, you know, it's like, yeah, towns have to have a point person.
no, and we do. So, you know, there are values, it's with great remorse that we accept your on my behalf, but that's, you'd be sorely missed. But like, you know, but as we've conversed over the last couple of months, I think you will be, I think it'll be a great asset for the town. I really do. We need it. We can't, you know, all these, I talked to select board member from Craftsbury, and, you know, they have an ARPA committee. As we know, Greensboro has an ARPA committee, and that just seems to be, they're all floundering.
Well, case in point, I met Ellen from Greensboro in our meeting over at the gravel pit. She did forward me 3 documents that are really useful, guidelines for the town to understand ARPA, and a application form, as well as a decision-making. Well, the application is pretty self-evident, but those are very helpful tools.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so,
Without recreating the wheel.
right.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. Let's not recreate the wheel.
Mhm.
Let's see when it works elsewhere. So,
So what is the steps, what are the steps that we would take now? I have a candidate that I think may be interested. You said you know.
Well, I'm not 100% sure if we interview people and then you and I make a decision. I know that someone will be appointed, and then if they so choose to continue as a town meeting, then they try to be elected like anybody else would be.
So you're the one that would be up to that town meeting,
Yeah.
so it would be for the duration of Brian's term.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so one thought would be to put a notice out that there's a vacancy,
Mhm.
and that if anyone is interested to contact blank.
Do we have to do it that way?
Well, you don't have to,
Elected
but
position, you gotta make sure it's circulated so somebody can come in there.
Well, actually, this one would be an appointed position, but I do agree that we should be pretty open with it. I don't think we're gonna have a flood of people wanting to be on the select board, so unfortunately. But I think we do need to say, you know, make it,
Available to
Yeah.
anyone.
the conversations I've had with a couple of people usually goes, well, let me think about it, and then there's, you know, I don't know, it's a big decision for people. I'm just saying, I don't know, if either of you agree on a particular person who's agreeable,
Mhm.
expeditiousness is better than waiting.
Right, yeah. Well, we'll need to make a decision within a couple of weeks, but I'd say we could communicate and come up with, you know, what we, you know, come up with, I mean, if you got one person and that's who you'd like to see be on the board, or do
I
you
have
have
someone
more than one?
in
or-
mind that if they still were interested, I think that would be great and easy.
Okay. All right, well, we'll need to make a decision before our next meeting, which is, I believe, is the
Mhm.
10th. No.
I want to say the 9th.
9th.
Yeah.
Okay,
So you're gonna make the appointment on the 10th?
probably.
9th.
I want to see, I want to be sure of what I'm doing before, or what we're doing before. That way we try not to look like fools, but
I think it's a pretty straightforward process.
I do too, but I just want to make sure.
You know, as long as you and Leanne agree on particular person.
Mhm.
It's just making the motion and making it clear that it's until the end of
Your
my
turn.
term,
Yeah.
which is town meeting day 2023.
Is there anything that you would like us to do? Jessica and I to do? Advertise in Chronicle?
No. I mean, maybe put it on front page form and or something like that to say no, if anyone's interested. Not-
So I don't know whether I should announce that I've resigned. I don't know how the optics would look if I could just put on Front Porch Forum that there's a vacancy on the select board for one term. For
For the remainder of the year.
Yeah,
the question is, who do we want people contact?
in contact, they can email me if you want, or either one of us, either Leanne or I,
Okay,
if they're interested,
I'll put
and,
both their email addresses.
and we can,
okay,
see what happens with them in the next week, and if after that, we can figure out what we're gonna do.
And can we start reaching out to the people that we think might be interested as well to
Mhm.
encourage them?
yeah.
Okay.
So there would be conversations probably between you two as far as, comparing notes and seeing who's,
So it's okay for us just to meet now without violation of some kind of, I mean, there's
Well,
only
we'll be
two
a
of us.
quorum because.
Right, 'cause it's-
That's where all there is.
On this. Well, you can have a special meeting, then have an executive session.
I don't think you can get to the executive session.
Maybe, I guess not, you're right.
It's not a, no.
Do we, I guess that's my question is, do
Personnel.
we have to call a meeting to have that conversation? No, so we could have it anywhere. Okay.
Brian,
Question.
you're going to put it on Front Porch Forum.
Yes.
Is your question about joining the select board?
No.
Dan, come on, you know you wanna.
Yeah, right.
You got-
I would, yeah, whatever. We're kind of putting the, Brian's kind of putting the cart in front of the horse.
Oh, you mean if they don't hire me?
Yeah.
I've thought of that. I have thought of
I'm
that.
not too worried.
What do you know, that life, isn't life strange?
Yeah, hey, guess what? That's the agenda item for next week.
What's that?
That's the agenda item for January 10th.
I think you got hired once
If
a couple
if
meetings ago.
if someone highly qualified breezes into town on their white horse.
We've
go for
already
it.
put the ad out, right? So like, did we require a certain kind of application?
We haven't got any. yet.
I mean,
You
can
mean
we
for-
say, would you give us 30 seconds spiel right now of why you like the job?
He's done that for the last 2 months.
Well, I guess that's
No,
my
a
point.
good- That's a protocol thing, sure. I mean, if you want to interview me now.
That's what I'm saying.
Sure.
Like, why do you want the job, Mr. Carroll?
So there's a couple reasons.
You won't be seeing me every 2 weeks.
So I've spent a fair amount of time as a volunteer, and it's been good time, and I'm proud of our town, but I'm getting a little burned, and the idea of devoting times and that I would get some type of compensation is really a motivating factor for me. And that's why I limited it to 15 hours a week, because I know we don't want to overdo this. But beside, that's the personal reason. The professional reason is, I think that we have a lot of good energy in this town, but it seems to kind of wander around, and a lot of emails and a lot of communication. And, I think someone to sort of help the boards and maybe the committees with just establishing, routines and getting the message out. I believe that we could do better getting our information out to the public. I think we underrepresent the town in our policy decisions, not by choice, but by accessibility. So it's incumbent upon the board to increase its accessibility to people in the village. I think sometimes they're underrepresented. I'd like to make some attempts to include them, particularly around the Heart of Glover project. I think I'm really excited about helping the Planning Commission in really moving towards using some funds to improve the green and how great it would be to have an actual pavilion in town for outdoor events that don't need a bunch of tents. So I just think we're on the cusp of a lot of stuff happening. I am concerned that we have the same 18 to 20 people doing all the work. And I'm also concerned on the board, we shouldn't have to have board members be part-time to almost full-time jobs. Boards, select boards should govern and should look at the big picture of where should Glover be. I found myself in the weeds a lot that distracted me from making those macro type decisions. And I think if we're going to attract board members who are young, I think we have to make it so that it's a manageable role, not something that they're going to have to be up 3 nights a week trying to figure out, how do I communicate this? How do we decide? What about this, the roads issue? And so what about the dam? So I'm hopeful that this position will relieve some of that pressure that the board is facing now. And I'm pretty confident I can help. I'm motivated to want to help, as well as what I said earlier about how I use my time, because I just haven't had much time to do other things. And if I was in a more of a paying position, I can easily justify the time.
So it sounds to me like Brian understands exactly what we need out of this job, and I would make a motion that for $20 an hour, we hire him for this position as advertised.
What's second?
Is that still the recycling coordinator as well?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I believe it is, yes. So you might want to throw that in your.
Includes, and which will also include recycling coordinator duties.
Hey, Jack, if you're listening, too bad you're not, but I think you're gonna be off the hook.
Yeah, okay.
So is that official enough?
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to second my
I
motion?
just did there.
Oh, okay.
He did.
And the only other discussion point I'll make is, this is not a manager position. And by all intents and purposes, I am serving the board. Okay? So I may come to you and say, here's what I got. You guys decide. Or I may make a subtle recommendation, but if you don't take it, I'm not gonna lose any sleep.
More of an advisory capacity.
I was looking at that part of the job interview because for a split second, I was like, well, it seems like that's giving the town manager a lot of influence. But then I kind of realized really anyone in the town is allowed to advise the select board and tell them what they
Well, this is a
think.
town administrator. There's a difference between town
Or,
manager.
sorry, town administrator.
So the town manager is different.
Yeah,
Town manager is sort of like the executive role of the town.
Right.
And the town manager can have some leeway to buck up against the board on some issue.
right. I meant town administrator, but I guess the
Right.
point that I was trying to make was that like, it's not really more than anyone has, like anyone can advise the select board and say,
Right.
this is what I think you should do.
The other thing is you can, in reasonable ways, assign me things to follow up on. In fact, I would welcome that rather than, there'll be plenty of things I will come up with. I'll be starting off with ARPA and I will be reporting. And whether or not I can need to make every board meeting, I'm leaning towards asking to attend one board meeting a month unless there's a dire issue, but
I think that would be plenty, to be honest with you. I mean, you know, you can maybe more, a little bit more or something
In the beginning.
but
yeah.
I think once a month, it's.
I
and
just
even
wouldn't
at
want to be
that-
tied to have to be at every board meeting.
Right, and even after a few months, and once a month may not be necessary unless there's something going
Well,
on.
that'll be interesting. Well,
We'll see.
yeah, that would be interesting, so.
So, yeah. All those in favor?
Hi,
Aye. Seeing so,
Thank you.
welcome, Captain
This is
America.
after the fact, but is there a written job description?
Yes.
yes,
Where is
it's been published on Front Porch Forum, it's on our town website, maybe not, it's on
it?
Facebook.
Yeah.
It's been in the newspaper.
With specific responsibilities and address the issues that these.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's been advertised for what?
I could email it to you.
Been advertised for a few weeks. We've had no responses to it.
Oh, the ad, yes.
Zero.
Keep everybody on the same.
No, he just made this up so he has a nice sheet out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little weird to be creating this.
It's gonna take some pressure off us, which is,
Thank you.
I will be greatly appreciative of.
All right.
Okay.
And so just for protocol's sake, I will start the first Monday after the next, so I'm resigning the board the 10th. So I have one more board meeting then.
Mhm.
So the following Monday I'll start.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Okay.
What's the date of that?
13th, June 13th will be his first day. June 9th is
Our next meeting.
next meeting.
Okay,
Okay, we've got, let's see, 7, wow, we're ahead of schedule.
That's nice.
Open public comment, any open public comment?
well, Peggy is back, so maybe it makes sense to return to the Trails Committee and hear from Peggy.
Oh, we'll do an about face, okay?
All
Okay. Well, I can report, we had our first Trails meeting on May 19th. And there are at least 20 people there. There are a few people who tried to plug in on Zoom, but it didn't work. But it was kind of an enthusiastic group. And we scheduled our first event, which is a hike on June 4th with Jimmy Courier leading us from Runaway Pond to Shadow Lake Beach. So I think that'll go on our website. And I should contact her, but it was 9 o'clock, meet at Shadow Lake Beach and then shuttle cars so that you leave some cars at Shadow Lake Beach and then come up to Runaway Pond parking area and through the Black Hills. So that's neat. And also there was quite a lot of interest in maintaining the trails we have, which we thought, well, what trails do we have? And then one is the Hester Webster Nature Preserve. So we are going to collaborate with the Lake Parker Association to maintain that trail. I just turned in a grant today, grant application for the Recreational Trails Program grant through the Vermont Division of Forest Parks and Recreation. And I was urged to do that after I didn't get the grant, the URSA grant from the same people, and they said, try again. So I did. It's changed this time because Greensboro realized that in fact, the Hinman Road on the Greensboro side was thrown up. So we have to get landowners' permission there, and we're not getting it. Because it's been an interesting ride here to see how reluctant people are to sign the state landowner's permit that says if we put public money into this trail, it needs to remain a trail for 5 years. And people don't want to sign it, which is interesting. I mean, some people do, some people think nothing of it. Other people just are bristling that they would do anything with the state. And in fact, one of the Greensboro landowners said, anything the state gets involved with goes bad. I don't want to sign. So that, that's interesting. And then this whole idea of trails, I've talked to a lot of people and that say, I don't mind if you walk across my land, but I'm not going to sign a paper, but I sure don't mind people I know, my neighbors hike around. So it's kind of interesting that that's the way it's going to go. And in fact, because Greensboro dropped out, I tried to enlarge it to the Parker settlement from Borland Road, and I had permission from Vicki Young to come out near the Skidoo Trail exit onto Parker Road. And I thought it was all there, and I had the grant all written, but I hadn't got hold of the last person, who is Rick Hudson, who lives right on the Borland and that road, who said, I'm not going to sign that. I should have done hold of him earlier. I kind of thought he knew about it, but so that part of the grant completely, I just had to drop it out of it and rewrite the whole thing. But
So
I
is the
did, and I
process-
submitted it.
Peggy, is the process for landowners' permission different than what VAST uses?
VAST, VAST has a letter that you sign. I've signed those before. This one, and it's federal money coming through the state.
Okay,
But
so it's
there's
for the
a
grant.
landowner's permit that if they don't put too much money in it, just clearing the trail and stuff. It's 5 years from the end of the grant period that you have to say this will remain a hiking trail. And everybody right along the line through the whole hiking trail has to sign that. So if anybody steps back, the trail can't get a grant, which does not mean that the trail can't happen. I realize it's like you can't get a state grant, but you can still with a handshake say, do you mind if we hike over the trail? And in fact, going through this whole exercise of figuring out where the trail would be from Berlin Road to Parker Road, which is where the Skidoo Trail is pretty much coming out on that, over that same culvert. Everybody was all for it, and I think it can happen, but we're just not gonna get any state investment in that, drawing out that road or anything like that. But it doesn't mean we can't just say, you know, that's a hiking trail in West Glover that people have said we have permission to go on. So I would say that is one of our hiking trails. But the application I submitted was for the Glover, within the town of Glover, the Skunk Hollow section, which is owned by Richard Carbonetti and Black Hills Timber LLC. And also the Halsey family owns the land that comes down to the Hinman Road, and they had signed all of it last year, and they're all for it. So that grant application, I asked for 25,000 and said 7,000 will be donated in kind and gravel for the parking area, things like that. So I just asked for improvement of that Skunk Hollow section, just on the Glover side, but throw in all the maps I have of all the looping trails, even though landowners haven't signed permission. There's still trails, so we'll see how that goes. I did a fine piece of grading, however, there's not that many users around here compared to the competition, so I don't know how it'll go. But anyway, I put it in, and Cindy, I'll get you a copy of that. And it's certainly been an education for me to see people's attitudes. And, you know, it is interesting. I mean, the neighbors say, we don't mind if you neighbors come over our land, but we won't sign the state paper.
Yeah.
So that's, anyway.
Hey,
So,
would you be able to, the event June 4th, that probably would be good if it was on the town calendar.
Yeah.
On the website, so people can refer.
Done.
It is.
And the 18th
All right.
Yep.
Yeah, good.
with Jim noted as the contact person and you and Heidi noted as the contact person for the 18th.
okay, because we're gonna do another one the 18th, where Heidi and I will lead hike through Stone Hollow to the cemetery. We won't come out on the Freeman farm because they don't want us to, unless you want to here at the last minute, while we're still hoping that they'll approve a way out to a town road. But we'll lead a hike on the 18th from the end of the town Hinman Road, you know, up Halsey land and Carbonetti land, and cross over and get to the cemetery, which is interesting, and then we're back. So anyway, every 2 weeks, somebody's gonna lead a hike around town, and on some trail that they're familiar with. And there are a lot of them. I mean, we used to do this Pioneer Camp, and it's amazing what great little hikes you can take.
Are there any trails down in the village that follow the Barton River that have been used, or do you know of any? Or does anyone know of any?
I don't, but I think that the survey that we took, which was actually an excellent preparation to understand what landowners are concerned about and what kind of trails people want. There were requests for trails that were handicapped accessible, and I'm thinking part of this whole Heart of Glover thing, you know, and you got the nursing home right there. If people could take wheelchairs and go near the river, that would be wonderful. And there's also need for a flat, easy bike trail that is away from traffic. And I thought, gee, how about on the other side of the river, all the way to Barton, something like that. Somebody from Barton came to me and said, we want trails.
Yeah.
And a back trail from Glover to Barton where you stay off of Route 16 and you're not in danger.
Oh,
Those
I think
kind of
it's a
things
huge,
are-
I think it's a very interesting proposal
Yeah,
and I think, I think the people in the village, it'd be good to connect them to this also. I think I'm picking up some vibrations that there may be some, not division, but separation between the village of Glover and West Glover in terms of trails and recreation. And I think anytime we can look at, I mean, the heart of Glover is gonna be huge when it happens, and it's gonna, there's gonna be some growing pains around that, and people have already come and had some concerns about sidewalks and such. But anytime we can include, connecting trails down here, even to West Glover would be great. But I think the river trail is a no-brainer if we can get landowners to buy into that.
yeah, well, I think we have to think of a way to buy into it without signing the state paper. More like VAST, that's like,
Yeah, well, the only reason VAST doesn't get any money from the state.
Did they get it from everybody on the snowmobile, right?
Yeah, so they get due. So that's the difference. So you answered my question. This isn't, it's apples and oranges. The only reason you have to get signatures for this, because the state's requiring it, they don't want to give out money if there's going to be iffiness around agreement for land use.
right,
So whereas VAST, it's like, we're just going to go over your snow for the winter.
Right.
We're not going to, we don't need any grants from the state. So, yeah.
well, I mean, I think we'll have an easier time of it if we think about the traditional trails we've all been using and just try to maintain them and particularly address the landowners' concerns. That is the key, which are trash, loss of privacy, just lack of
ATV
respect.
access.
ATVs, yeah. So that's a big thing, is figure out how to keep the ATVs out. And I think, for instance, the West Glover Trail, which includes the settlement, there's a fence on the Borland Road that's kind of like almost off its hinges and stuff. I think all we need to do is make sure that's good and solid, you can't get it open. And then over by Lawn of Thieves, put up even just a little cedar fence between the trees so you can't get into there. That would be the nicest thing we could do and just not make such a big deal of it. Like, we're not the state. All we got to do is just with our neighbors say, is this trail something we don't mind? And then make sure it's respected.
Well, we know that there are trails that ATVs are not allowed on, so we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We just need to figure out what do other towns and the state do, and adapt to that.
I think it's physical barriers.
Yeah.
Signs, of course, the physical barriers.
Right.
And the other thing is we let them go on our roads now, and all they want to do is drive around and then go get a hamburger somewhere. I mean, they're happy. Unless they see a road that they say, oh, let's try this.
No, they're all on Stevens Road, so.
Right.
In addition to what Peggy's mentioned about the village, Lucky Shelton has got a plan that he's outlined the owners. It would be from the town, the heart of Glover to the school, circle up to Bucky's place at the base of Still Hill and come back. And that's just gonna take somebody, I'm looking at it. No, it's just gonna take that everybody that owns property up there knows what we're planning to do and getting that permission. And we just sat down with yours truly and just outlined every owner. And that would be a nice loop, including the school, including the Hardwick Club,
Yeah.
and going up to Still Hill and staying off the road up there.
Nice. All right.
Thanks.
Anything else?
So also, we understand there's some money in the recreation fund, and I also understand that many people want it. But we were thinking maybe we could get a little seed money out of that for the Glover Trails Committee, which would involve, a big thing is trail maintenance. And so with Northwoods, we can actually get our trail committee trained on the job training and pick a trail and get them to come with us and guide us into what to do.
Mhm.
I applied with this grant, which, who knows if we'll make it here. Frustrating to do, but I applied for about $1,000 for tools. But otherwise, we
So-
want tools as well.
We briefly discussed that, I'll call it a request. And there is something, Dave is gonna look into VLCT. There's a question of using funds for a different, you're not GREC, and this is a GREC fund, so we need to look at, first of all, is it reasonable to transfer or transform rec into trails, and is that something, that's a board decision, or is it possible to designate the GREC money for whatever expenditures the trail committee is gonna be looking at? So Dave is gonna look in, there's an info site that VLCT can answer that question. They're really good at responding. It's info@VLCT.
If it's my only concern, remember when you first started talking about this, and I said, that, well, you should maybe be GREC and have a subcommittee at the trail. Like with the reserve fund and reserve accounts and all these accounts that we specifically put money into something, it has to be used for that. So now that you're not part of GREC, it's not a reserve fund, so I don't know if we could give you some money out of that. I've got to look into the legality of it, that's all I'm saying. I don't, because you're not GREC,
Yeah, well, I don't know if we, I don't really care one way or the other. I don't feel like we're gonna hold it in the ball field, but
Right.
we are a committee and we did elect officers and I'm the chairman. And Cindy is the secretary, so you should know what's going on.
I thought you guys were gonna be part of GREC.
Oh, I think that's
So,
good. I actually think personally, I think that's a good idea because it is recreation.
mm,
So that's what we have to clarify, because it's been a back and forth. There was a discussion of being GREC, then apparently it was not supported. And now it sounds like, so does the committee desire to be part of GREC? How does the committee want to see itself juxtaposed to GREC?
I'm just a member here. In my mind, I think we could be part of rec. I think we're the Trails Committee, which is part of the Recreation Committee, and that might make the whole thing easier. I think some of the concern was, would we be asked to take on responsibilities that rec always took on, like Glover Day and the ball field and stuff, and I don't see that.
The answer to that is no.
No,
GREC is
Right.
not connected to Glover Day. The only thing GREC is connected to is the ball field. And so that could be a subcommittee of the rec trail committee or the rec committee.
yeah,
We're just trying to make sure that organizationally, we can say, yep, that money should go there. And not complicate things. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not unusual for a town to have a rec committee. And if it's a rec trails committee, I don't know if that's a problem, but,
Or if it was a rec committee with a trail subcommittee, it'd be, that's why when you and I talked to the library that day, I said, I think that would be the way to go, because
Yeah.
it's gonna, when you do a whole separate committee, it's just, so. anyway.
I agree with that. I think that would be good. And there are many kinds of recreation.
I'm wondering when we talk to VLCT, who controls the GREC money to begin with? Yes, it's the town, but I wonder if the select board is the one that controls that money and can say, okay, yes, we're going to issue money to Jethro for maintaining the ball field, all of the expenses for that, his committee there, and Trails Committee is part of rec as well, and the board can distribute money from there. So basically,
Mhm. I know what
the
you're saying.
select board is now the committee.
So just a detailed question, whose name is the GREC money attached to? Is it Jethro?
No,
No.
it's the town of Glover.
It's the town of Glover. Okay,
Me and Jessica. We're the only ones that can touch that money. Period.
all right. So.
Physically.
Let's look into that, and it may be just a good move to make this a GREC / Trails Committee, and which we're not gonna ask you to start pitching baseballs or anything, so,
Right.
okay.
Well, and another item that, of course, we had Adam Uslan at our meeting, who pointed out that when we go on our hike with Jimmy Courier from Runaway Pond to Shadow Lake Road, we're gonna be in an area where there's no cell service, and if anybody gets hurt, there'll be no one to hear us call for help. And that maybe one thing we should get is one of those emergency, automatic SOS. So anyway, that would be another item, but what we
Sure.
need to do is
Yeah.
price it out.
Yeah.
And request.
Okay,
Can
But
I,
otherwise, I think the committee, I feel real positive. I think it is a great committee, great time, and
Yeah.
I actually enjoyed my exploration of, how to include the West Glover Hinman Road in this grant. I took a walk with Maria Young and Sarah Damsel, who made a nice map. And Maria came up with later saying that the thing about trails is they bring people together. It doesn't matter what your political persuasion is, what your, what race, whatever. In fact, I wrote it in my grant. It's like, we all love this place
Mhm.
and it will bring us together. And
Yep.
so we ought to look forward to that
Mhm.
as a result of this.
Leanne, you were saying?
well, so while we're talking about GREC, I remembered when we were talking about the trash, Jethro has brought up this issue of trash. And if in fact there is $12,000 in the GREC fund, he would like to see a game camera put up at the GREC field for the trash. Is that something we can make happen?
Yeah, we need some signage too that says pack in, take in what you're.
The only caveat I have with the game camera is it needs to be in a place where no one has accessibility. to it.
Right.
It's a remote area. If someone can
Steal
steal it, they're gonna steal it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
But,
Well, maybe it can be really hardwired to the,
They do make game cameras that if someone does steal, there's another box in the woods where it'll take that feed.
okay.
So that's not.
Yeah, that's definitely something to look into, because we got.
yeah, I just think we
there's
do
some
need to have
issues.
sign that says, that reminds
Yeah.
people that.
Please take
right.
the
Well,
trash.
he
where-
specifically asked for a camera though, and there's $12,000 in that account. So I mean, there's no reason that shouldn't happen.
I mean,
Question, so
We
what I
do.
understand here is that the select board controls the expenditures from the rec fund,
yes,
correct?
yes.
So it'd be part of the orders that you signed if there's an expenditure, so.
Yes.
So it would be helpful to get a cost for the camera and installing the camera so that it's secure.
I
So
thought he sent us that. I thought he found a $200 camera. That was in
Why
that
don't you,
email.
why don't you look into that? and
Okay.
Let us know the next meeting,
All right, I'll get in touch with Jethro.
and then we
Yeah.
can get it ordered.
So
and
you want the cost of the camera and what it would take to install
to
it?
install,
I
it,
mean, he
yeah.
can
I-
probably install
Yeah, I
it.
mean, I
You
think
did- Oh, okay,
game cameras are pretty easy to install.
Yeah,
okay.
And then we can make a decision
okay.
and get stuff, because there should be some stuff probably for
Right.
more
I
of
think
that.
that should be an easy one to take care of.
Okay.
Okay, we got signing orders, and also we have a resolution to sign for a particular employee.
Okay.
Yes.
Did you need, I mean, are you here for more than entertainment?
I'm just here because I've never been to a select board. meeting.
Oh, okay.
Okay, full disclosure, I had a chat with Jim in terms of the idea of someone who might serve the board. And so, and And thank you for coming, and as you heard, there may be a short list.
Still under consideration.
Yeah. And, but if you, last I heard, you hadn't decided, but if you do decide, email either Leanne or Dave.
Nice.
Because we don't know who is really committed at this point.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, but from what I've
So,
heard.
yeah, it's just full disclosure.
Yeah.
I haven't been to a select board meeting, and if I'm going to get a seat on the select board, then it would be a good idea for me to
Mhm.
see what.
And Jim's been on the planning commission, so he knows how long meetings can go.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
This
yeah.
looks really nice.
I'll put it in the frame.
Yeah. He has, to- oh, he does. Okay, we're gonna sign orders.
There's one order that, Brian, you haven't
I
signed
did
yet.
sign,
Oh, you did?
yes.
Okay. Fix that problem.
Oh. So, oh yeah, we're gonna deal with the solar site.
That's
next-
the,
next
that's the
meeting.
ninth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
You just sign that, okay.
okay, thank you, everyone who didn't show. I'm gonna end the meeting.
Was there